be looking at the first slide of your presentation, which I have uploaded. And then with the arrow, you can move back and forth. Can you see?
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay.
Okay, that's fine. There's a video, but we'll miss this one. That's fine.
Well, let's leave it for the end. Let's leave it for the end. I'll show you how to do it. So, please carry.
Thank you so much. So we'll go with that. And it's a pleasure to be here and to talking about gender and science, which I've been working a little, well, kind of bit on this topic besides my research. So as Skevi told you, I did my PhD in Barcelona in aquatic ecology and finished in 2014. And since then, I have been moving in different postdoctoral phases. During the last 5 years, I was in Denmark, where I met Skevi, and then I recently moved back to Spain in Girona. But besides that, I have been very interested as well in topics such as justice in academia, collaboration, and gender and science. And let me start with a small anecdote from myself when I was doing my PhD back to 2013. So that was I don't know if you can see my pointer, but you can see the picture on the screen, that my department. So there used to be seminars every week. So the seminars were very familiar. So the speakers would be people from the department or invited people. And usually there were the young people from the department organizing them. And this year, me and a colleague, another PhD student, were the people in charge organizing them. So we start in September 2012, and I was young, very motivated, so I was very happy to help with the organization of the seminars. So I would get proposals from people who wanted to do the seminars, or people who know someone who wanted to present, and then invite them, send the dissemination to other research centers, like saying we have this seminar this day or this other day, and then arrange the settings during the seminar. So what happened is that we start in September, but by Christmas, by December, we got this email from a woman from another research institution in Barcelona who was getting our newsletters with the information of the seminar and said, hey, did you realize that you have scheduled only men since September? That there was only 2 women from September to December on our weekly seminars only. And I was so surprised because I didn't even notice, and I consider myself some person who cares about these things. So suddenly, I just like missed that all my presenters were men except for 2 people. So I was very shocked. And then we started to talk about that, and we decided to do something. So first thing, we invite more women. Second thing, we made a special seminar dealing about these issues, the gender and science issues. And then we started a discussion with the people from the department. But the discussion was also move abroad in an international meeting about limnology, that is my field of research. And other people had like also this interest about these issues. And then because I'm involved in this Society of Iberian Limnology, so a society that is from Portugal and Spain, we decide to really do something, to organize as a group, to discuss about these topics, but also take action. So since 2014, we are a group of the Iberian Association of Limnology, that is a society of limnology in Spain and Portugal. But within this big group, we are a small group that we are interested in gender issues. in science. We have the support from the main society, but we have our autonomy to work as we want. And nowadays we are very active, and we are 30 people from this society, but also external collaborators. And our objectives are basically to act as observer of gender bias and then foster women's visibility within the scientific community, and then provide recommendations to improve gender equality in limnology. We have been active during this time. We started in 2014. We have organized several discussion events during the conferences in our field. We have done exhibitions about posting the role of women in the history of our field, produce research resources to highlight the figures of limnology. And then we have also done 3 works, research works about the role of women in limnology. But let's put this in a bit of context. Let's see if there's someone on the other side of the screen. If you want to participate, please scan this QR code or go to the menti.com and use this code and answer if you think that there are that the scientific system offers equal opportunities for different genders. It's very easy, so you don't need to register. So you just go with your cell phone, scan the code, or enter to this webpage, and we have a fast look on what the audience that you think about before starting this presentation. So it's easy. Let's see if there's anyone answering. So anyone wants to answer to that?
Ada, I have answered the question. You haven't get the results.
Let's see.
I did too.
Let me see.
Me too.
Okay, let's see if I can get the. Okay. I cannot get the. Oh, shit, that's it. Let's see. Okay, I got the results, and you can check them if I put them here in the chat. So the chat is here.
Ada, I have started also. I've copied the questions. We have
Okay. That's fine because I found it. I don't know how to go into the chat. Here. So here you can see the results. Okay, so we have 2 people that answer that they have the same opportunities, 10 that they say that no, and 2 that they don't know. So these 2 people are waiting for my presentation. Now we have 11 saying that no, they are not the same opportunities. That I guess it's what I'm going to be explaining in my presentation. And these ones, I need to convince them that they are not the same opportunities. So let's move. Thank you for your answers. It's great to know that there's more people, and there are like 2 more of these. So thank you for that. So let's see what the European Union says about that. So the European Union publishes a study that it's called She Figures, where they evaluate the role, the position, the role of women in the society. So here, from this the last one in 2021, we can extract this graph. That's what we usually call the scissors diagram graph in gender topics. This is because it has a scissor shape. So on the x-axis, you see that there are like the different categories. So that one could say that like the students at the beginning of the academic career, and then going on to the right, increasing to higher grades, with the grade A being full professorship. So what you can see in yellow is that the proportion of women during this academic career, it starts a little bit higher than 50, but moving to the right, so higher in the top positions in the academia, it's going down and down, and then it goes to 26% for full professors. This is 2018, that is the latest data available. We can also show the glass ceiling index per countries, that it's the relative index comparing the proportion of the women in academia to the top positions compared to the ones in the more close to the top. So the proportion of the grade A to the A, B, and C. And here, meaning that one would be that there's no difference between women and men to be promoted to full professor, but a lower, a higher GC than one, it would mean that women are underrepresented. So here you can see that for all the countries, it's higher than one. So it's more complicated for women demographically to be promoted to full professor. This scissor graph is even more different for a STEM field, so meaning science, technological, engineer, and mathematics fields. So the proportion of women is low already from the beginning, and it decreases during the academic career. But wait, we can see that the data comparing here from 2015 to 2018, there's a slight increase. So we are looking at the top positions, like full professor. So there's a 2% increase both for all fields of research and for STEM fields. So we can see, yes, maybe there's hope. So we can we can just wait and see and sit, because it's a historical thing and we are getting there. But this is like how much do we need to wait? So if we extrapolate these numbers, which is a very cost thing to do, we'll reach 50% of full professor for all fields in 2052. But for the STEM fields, that would be in 2064. So meaning that's like already like I would be already retired. So so only using these two numbers, which is very approximative because it can happen many things, that would take, for my view, too long. So there has been, so from the European Union, it's seen that it's very important to reach to this gender balance, because it's not only a matter of ethics, but they are also losing resources. There are a lot of people that are well trained, that they are students, grad students, master students, but these people are not reaching at the top levels. So they are doing some different initiatives, and here I was just showing one that was very successful, and it was a video campaign, and they just retired it, and it was just fun to see it. But we could watch it like online. If you check that on Google, Science It's a Girl thing, so you could check it afterwards. So this decrease of women along the academic career, sometimes it has been referred as the leaky pipeline. So if we have like a path, so going from undergrad, undergrad student, graduate student, and then PhD, and then postdoc, and then associate professor, and then full professorship, we are leaking women on the way. But this, most recently, has been highly criticized, because when you are talking about leaking, it seems that it's something that it's passive, that it's something that the system is there and you cannot do there. But actually, what it has been recently suggested is that we can use more a metaphor like a hostile obstacle course. So it's something that it's not that women are leaking passively from the system, is that the system is constructed with barriers that doesn't help the women and other minoritized groups, BIPOC people, different groups that they are not white man, occidental man. They don't help, and totally the other opposite way. They are obstaculizing their path into the academia. So which are these obstacles? So if you look at the literature, there are many, and it's so depressing to look at all. And like preparing the presentation, it's like which one do you choose and which ones you want to highlight, but there are so many. This one is one from 2012 that they look, the study, what they did is to pretend to have that the faculty members from science faculty to evaluate a fake application. In that case, the ones evaluating that, they didn't know that it was a fake one. And the researcher in the case, they just changed the name from John to Jennifer. So that was the same CV, the same recommendation letter, all the same portfolio. It was the same, but one it was Jennifer and the other was John. And they asked them how suitable the candidate would be to be hired as a technician in their institution. The results were surprising. I'm not sure if it's surprising the word, but they were very clear. So both the men but also women were evaluating the candidate with the name John much better than the one named Jennifer, meaning that they would hire the John candidate over the Jennifer, and they would provide a better mentoring to John than Jennifer, and they would suggest a better starting salary to John than Jennifer, just because of the name, because all the other was the same. It has also been observed differences in the recommendation letters for postdoctoral fellowship. This a study analyzed international data from several countries, and they measured the length of the letter, but also the tone. So like if the candidate was suggested to be an excellent candidate or only good, and the results were also very clear. The female applicants were only half as likely to receive excellent letters or good letters compared to male applicants, and it was the same. So there were no differences if the man or if the person writing the letter was a man or a woman. Here we can see also that preferences when you write a paper. So in ecology, usually we have the first author, who's the person who has carried most of the work, and then the last author, usually it's the senior person who is the leading of the project, who is the one who maybe has gained the funding of the project and is the one leading it. So here we can see that when the last author is of the paper in the field of ecology and zoology is a man, the proportion of the female authors in this paper is much lower than when it's a woman being a last author, indicating some networks, different networks of authorship between man and men, collaborating with different people. Here we can see also the gender inequity for the salary. So we can see on this graph the age index, that it's a metric that relates the productivity. As a researcher, productivity, it's usually measured as how many papers you publish per year, and the impact of your research, so the citation, so how many people is citing what you publish. So a higher age index means that your research is more productive and it has more impact. So if you are more productive and you have more impact, you get paid more. So that's what this positive relation means. But if you look a little bit more, you see that in black, it's the male researcher, and the relation it's a steeper. So meaning that for the same, if you are a very productive researcher, you are going to be paid more than a woman at the same scale. Here we can also see another example about gender bias in Nobel Prizes. We know that Nobel Prizes are usually men, and it has been like that historically. So they started at the beginning of the 90s. But one could say yes, of course, because there are few women that they are full professors. So that's a matter of just demographics. And then when given that the women are getting are becoming more and more present as full professorship, then we'll keep increasing with the Nobel Prizes award to women. So this study challenged this and asked if the Nobel awards depend on the gender ratio among professors. So they compare the gender ratios among professors using a data set in the United States, and they also consider that to be awarded as Nobel Prize, you have done your research 15 years ago or 10 years ago, so they introduce a lag time. So they compare this pool with some years before. And they compare the probabilities. So the probability of being women as a professorship in the time of the year of the being award and this lag time, and the probability of really like to be selected as an awardee for the Nobel Prize. And then what they show in this study is that women were strongly underrepresented among Nobel awardees, even considering these things. So now that we know that it's working, let's go again to Menti, and let me ask you, how much do you agree with the sentences that I'm suggesting in the slides? Thank you. And I'm going to check how to do that in the meanwhile. Okay, so we have some results. And let's, it's still moving. Shall I wait a little bit? Okay, now maybe. So inequity happens, but I did not encounter explicitly. So that was a strongly disagree was one, and a strongly agree was two, and we are in the middle a little bit, most like strongly agree. Most of the people strongly agree with that, or agree, not strongly. I don't have a single concrete suggestion for how to solve that, because you can just change the society. So here we are more on the disagree part. And finally, I cannot do anything because I don't know what to do. So here people, it's mostly strongly disagree, but we also have some results for others. So with this sentence, I want you to reflect on how ourselves can position it when we face this type of problems. There's this study that I just found it the other day, that it's from Nancy, it's very recent, and ask, instead of asking what are the biases or the barriers or the obstacles that women are facing in the academia, look the other face of the coin, and then ask how what are the barriers and the possibilities that are present by those who hold privilege and power in dismantling the inequity in academia. So that those are usually white men, that they don't face that many problems when trying to move the system towards a more equity system. And what they found is a study is that one of the topics that emerge when directly asking is that they usually say that they are aware about the problems, as I show you now. So we have seen that there are less women in top academic positions, that there are like subtle biases for women. They know that, but they put some distance. So I know that this is happening, but these happenings are not at my reach. So it's something that it's far. So I cannot kind of do anything about that. Another type of argument, it's too big. That it's a problem that it's already in the society, in the school, in the families, in the advertisements, and my little action could not help on that. And then finally is that because I cannot do anything, I'm justified, so it's just fine. So it's nice to reflect, like, how do I position myself, not like only, not if you are not a man or a woman, like me and my role in the society. So how could I also try to help to change the things as I want? So now I'm going to start with the studies that we have been doing with a group of science and gender of the Society of Limnology of the Iberian Peninsula, and I will start from the very beginning. So what we see from the beginning. So we wanted to analyze our society, so how bias was. In 2012, that's when we started the study, we were 470 members, and 45% were women. We checked the season life, and it was also in our society. So non-tenure, meaning non-permanent positions, where the percentage of women were higher than men, but at tenure position, the pattern was reversed. About the publications, we analyzed an international data set of more than 2,000 papers of limnology that were authored by Spanish and Portuguese people, and we observed as well that that women as last author, indicating seniority, was very low percentage compared to the men. And the same happened looking at the percentage for first author. Here we also look at the plenaries of the conferences of this society. So the plenaries are the talks that they have more prestige, and you are invited to do that, and you have a big audience. From 2006, there was no woman, and then there was an increase of the women in that. So there was a little bit increase, but it was not half. But when we published this article, we want to think about like that. The people notice about this problem, and then the percentage of the plenary women were higher. Then we ask at the members of the society, so what are the barriers that you are affecting your daily life? And most of the people say funding, salary, so it's a problem that it's for women and men, but more often women talk more about familiar burdens, so having children, childcare, elder care, and also gender biases. So it was more prominent for women. Then we have also interested to understand the role of women in conferences. And here we analyze a Spanish and Portuguese conference happening in 2018. And conferences, why conferences? Because it's the place where in order to have more visibility. And we analyze this conference, and then we analyze with three different factors: participation, interaction, and personal experience. We saw that the attendance was half and half, but again, the invited talks were less women invited for the invited talks. The shares of the session, the people convening the sessions, were mostly formed by men, and then the attendance was higher for male talks than women. Interesting, we also count who were asking the questions during the talk, and then we observe that they were more questions from men than from women. And this we compare with the percentage of the attendees in the room, with the percentage of the men and women in the room. So meaning you would expect that if there's a 50% of women in the room, the questions during the discussion would be 50% by women. So making this 1.1 line. But what we see is that most of the points are below of this 1.1 line. indicating that women were asking less questions than men, according to the people that it was in the room. Then the number of questions depend also on who was talking. So we saw that if the speaker was a woman, the questions from the room were the same. Were woman or men asked the same. But if it was a man, women, there were fewer questions from women. That was similar if the talk was shared by a man or a woman. We also observed that when we asked the people attending the conference with the survey, the respondents of the survey, they were happy with the conference in general, and there were no differences between men and women. But there were very few people, so 39 of the respondents that were women and only 21% of the respondents that were men, that realized that women were asking less questions. And then the respondents of this survey, when they were women, they said more often than the respondents that there was a man, that they had the stereotypical remarks and they had imposter syndromes than men. So the general feeling of the conference was that it was a good conference, but there were subtle issues that indicate that women were not that well integrated in this conference, like asking less, having this imposter syndrome, hearing some stereotypical remarks that you feel a little bit awkward in a place, that they would interfere in the participation of the conference. And in this paper, we suggest some recommendations on how to amend that. That's the summary for this part. And then finally, we have also worked to try to visualize the role models of our field of research, that is the limnology, to increase the visibility of top female limnologists, to provide role models for young scientists, and also to highlight the past and current situation of women in our field. We have created these teaching resources that they are available online. We have these panels, this exhibition that it's available to borrow in different institutions to show the role of the women in limnology. And also we have published this study on these historical figures, but also how does it look, the limnology nowadays. And we can see that for different societies of limnology, that's in blue, usually the plenary talks doesn't reach to the 50% of women being the speakers. For the words, it's also similar. So we have less women being award in the limnology, and then the society boards, so who are the leaders of the societies, is also less, and also the editor boards. So only these journals on the top have higher representation of women, higher than 50%. We also highlight some grassroots initiatives that try to improve this gender balance in academia. And that's all what I wanted to explain for you today. So if we have time, we can start a little bit of a discussion. We can use Menti again if you want to suggest some actions to be prioritized towards equity in academia. And you can also ask me directly questions in case that you are interested in a particular issue. Thank you.
Ada, thank you. Thank you very much for a passionate talk on the topic. On a difficult topic, I have to admit, and a topic that you don't see much, although I have to admit that nowadays most of the institutes, higher education, and of course the funding agencies like the European Union have a gender equality policy. Now, the extent to which this policy is actually implemented on the ground is another story. It's a topic of discussion, and we saw very interesting slides. I personally have a lot of questions, but being the minority in this audience, as you, I don't know if you can see or can you read all these Greek names on the right-hand side of the chat, but right now, from what I see, we are only 2 men probably in the audience. So I will just I will stop the recording.